As a back place, as a back to show. Okay, so the hearing is called to order. I want to begin by welcoming all of you to this public hearing on the mineral development agreement between the Republic of Liberia and Checo Resources Liberia Limited. On behalf of the Joint Committee on Investment and Concession, Committee on Ways, Means, Finance and Development Planning, Committee on Lands and Mines and Natural Resources, and the Committee on Judiciary. On behalf of these committees, I want to welcome our friends from the executive. In this case, the Minister of Lands and Mines, and of course, we have the National Investment Commission. It was initially planned that we will have each of the agencies appearing separate, at least from the beginning. We had a reason for that, but of course, we are running on the basis of coordination. The fact that we have the National Investment Commission represented by the chairperson as chair, I thought to give him that deference. But we have planned that we have a Lands and Mines, we have NRC Academy separate, and we have the Environmental Protection Agency separate. And tomorrow or so, we have other agencies, including the LRA, the Ministry of Finance, and other agencies that are relevant to this hearing. But again, so this is an exception that we have the NRC here. And so once again, I want to welcome you. Today is the beginning. I'm not sure the hearing will be able to address all the issues today. We thought as a way of starting, we will begin the process today. Basically, we will be giving the agencies an opportunity to give on their own information they have on this instrument. Members of the committee will be given opportunity to ask some questions, at least initial reactions. Those reactions will definitely let us know the way forward. So before we do that, we'll give the executive chance to introduce himself, but I want to start, since we are hosting you, I want to start by introducing members of the joint committee. Like I said from the beginning, there's a joint committee, it's 4 different committees. On my right, I have the chair on Mines and Energy, Committee on Mines and Energy, Honorable Vincent Willie of Grand Bassa County. On my right too, I have Honorable Councillor Kani Wesso of Bapolu County. He currently chairs the House Statutory Committee on Judiciary. On my left, I have Honorable Joe Matthews of Bapolu County, a member on the committee. We have Honorable Rostalin Swakopo Dennis. Of course, besides being a legislator, I'm sure across the table we know her background. She is member on the Committee on Lands and Mines. We have Honorable Mema Briggs Meza, member on the Committee of Investment and Concessions. We have Honorable Tampoe of District Number 1, my DV County as co-chair on the Committee on Investment and Concessions. And of course, we have Honorable Richie Namdekun. We just saw the entering Honorable B.N. Howard, co-chair on B.N. Howard is co-chair on Judiciary. Johnson Guaidó is a member of the Committee on Investment and Concessions. And finally, Honorable Abu Kamara, issue number 15, Montreal County, is a member of the Committee on Investment and Concessions. With that, I want to turn over to the executive, beginning with the minister, who will introduce the team. And then following the introduction, the chair will give a brief opening statement as to the areas that we will be focusing on. Those areas will not just be the only areas, but at least our initial reaction will focus on those areas. And then we'll give the executive 30%. And before that, we want to ask the minister to introduce his team.
Thank you very much, Chair, for inviting us to this public hearing. My name is Gessler E. Murray. I'm the Minister of Mines and Energy. To my immediate right is Honorable Maruwa Gray, Chairman of the National Investment Commission. To the immediate right of Honorable Gray is Honorable Emmanuel O. Sherman, Deputy Minister for Operations.
Okay, thank you, Minister, for the introduction. Before the chair gave the opening statement, we will call on the Sergeant Arms who will administer the vote before we start this public hearing. Yes, please.
Please right hand for your name, institution you're representing, you repeat after me. I,
Gessler E. Murray, the Minister of Mines and Energy.
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that the testimony I am about to give
the testimony I'm about to give
to this hearing
as it relates to this hearing
will be the truth,
will be the truth,
nothing but the truth.
nothing but the
And the
truth.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Police, once again, you are welcome. Mr. Minister of Police. Now that our guests are taking a vote, we want to say thank you for giving yourself, Police, and Mr. Minister, and the media. We recall that on the 27th of August, 2021, Chief Executive, the President of the Republic, wrote the national legislature, particularly the House of Representatives, through the office of the Honorable Speaker of Papa Chambers, submitting to this August body a mineral development agreement between the Republic of Liberia and Checo Resources Liberia Limited. As by practice, the legislature went through committees, the plenary in for wisdom took a decision to refer this instrument to the Joint Committee on Ways, Means and Finance, the Committee on Judiciary, Committee on Mines and Energy, Committee on Investment and Concession as the committee. When this submission was done, we were at the verge of closing for our annual break. Even during the break, the legislature took a decision to call itself back. And that is because of the importance that we as the first branch of government attach to this instrument and other instruments that are intended to impact our investment climate, but also importantly affect our economy. Now that the legislature is back, the Joint Committee is beginning this public hearing. And we call it a public because what we do here is on behalf of our people. It's on behalf of the public. It's on behalf of the citizens. That's why you see this hearing is in the public there. The media present. And I can say that even if any citizen had the time to visit this hearing, this chair would give them the opportunity to observe. Because whatever decision we make is on their behalf. And of course, all of us know it affects them directly. So this hearing, like I said from the beginning, will give you the chance, Mr. Minister, Mr. Chairman, the Lands and Investment, give us an overview on your knowledge, because it is our expectation that for the president to submit this, it must have come from the pieces of advice, technical expertise that went into this decision. From our side, from the side of the legislature, from the House of Representatives, we'll be asking questions. We are interested in the feasibility of the concession, the area of operation. Understand from reading, it will be in Papulu. We want to see what was the feasibility done to arrive at the decision. We're also concerned about the environment and the environmental plans that would be submitted. We're also concerned about the general terms of the concession that has been offered our corporate citizen, in this case, the Biological Resources Liberia Limited. We are concerned about the operation itself. Over a period of time, we have offered concession agreements that have operated here for years, and we are yet to see value addition. The legislature is concerned as to how this investment is going to address the issue of value addition, the acquisition of land. We have situations here where concessions are being awarded, and on the papers we have land allocated to concessionaires, when in actuality, the size of those lands may not even exist. We're interested in the infrastructure that will be done as a result of this concession. The legislature, the people representatives are also concerned about health and security, health and safety, security. They are interested in what will happen for those who are in the environment, who are in that community, who are in the localities. They are interested in what will become of the employees, housing, security, and employment. It is our expectation that when we offer a concession in our country, employment should affect Liberians. Liberians, particularly, and we don't want to segregate them, but particularly those who are from that area. Of course, we are equally concerned about payments to government, the royalties, surface rentals, regulatory fees, inspection fees, signature payments, and spending on the community itself as a corporate social responsibility. The document we have before us is a very huge document, but I can assure you, that members of this joint committee will read from the front page up to the last page and show that whatever decision we come up with will not fall short of the interest of our people. Mr. Minister and colleagues, I'd like to close by emphasizing here that Section 22 of this agreement spells out very clearly as to what would be the policy governing confidentiality. As it stands, whatever information that is meant to help us make this decision will not be treated as a confidential matter. Therefore, I'd like to inform you that as this public hearing will be going on, members of the public will be given the opportunity that they can have access of this mineral development agreement. They can go through the fine prints, black and white, and members of the public can suggest to this legislature as to their views. I'd like to assure you that the view of the public will be welcome and it will be considered in our decision-making process. I also like to inform you that this concession agreement will be done in Bapolu. And it is good for me to stay here for the record that the leadership of Bapolu County, the political leadership of Bapolu County, the community leadership of Bapolu County will be spoken to on this matter. And our colleagues are here coincidentally. Some of them are on the committees, but the caucus of Bapolu, just as this chair would do for other counties. If there are any concessions coming from any county, not just Bapolu, the chair will endeavor to inform the political leadership of that county to make sure that whatever decision is done in the interest of the people. There will be an official letter written to the Bapolu caucus, even though the chair of the Bapolu caucus, interestingly, is the chair on judiciary. But the caucus will be written because we want to make sure that the leadership of those counties are informed and they are aware of the decision that will be taken on their behalf. So that after many years when we should have left, the records will be straight that the people were consulted on the decision. So on that note, I want to say once again, you are welcome. Feel free. This hearing is not meant to create any intimidation. It is meant to interact with the executive because you are the relevant agencies, in my opinion, and by the governance system whose work has informed this submission. So, colleagues, I want to thank you. Now we want to turn over to the Ministry of Minister of Colleagues, please. As the presentation is done, let's take note. I will expect that all of us ask the hard questions. We may not finish, like I said, we may not finish the hearing today, but I expect that all of us will read the fine prints. The fine prints, ask all the questions, ask the hard questions to make sure we shall arrive at the decision-making point. We sign on to this, we want to be convinced that we're able to do due diligence. So with that, I want to, with your indulgence, colleagues, I want to ask the Ministry of SMIs, who will be given the opportunity now to give us an overview. Of course, in this case, basically on the technical side that went into this decision. From there, the NRC will take over. And following that, we have questions and answers from our colleagues. We will take the decision how to proceed. So, please, Mr. Minister.
Thank you, Chairman Master, for inviting us to this public hearing pertinent to the Checo MDA in Bahia County. This MDA grew out of a mineral exploration license that was issued sometime back in 2018. It's been quite a while that exploration work has been proceeding. The way the sector operates is that the company takes an exploration license and they explore for a period of time. And then in terms of resource definition, it reaches the stage of measure or perhaps indicated. You can apply for the MDA, Mineral Development Agreement. So this company, Checo, has run the course of exploration and they zeroed in for the reserve of 380 million tons of iron ore. It seems small, 380.
300. 300.
Yes. And so, at this, they will not just give us a report. In fact, a full bankable DFS has been done, certified by independent persons report using the JOG compliance framework. So we rely on that independent person report to give credence to this resource. You mentioned a lot of concerns. We also concerned environmental and social impact assessment. Fully adhere to, we work along with the EPA so that we can satisfy the SHE, safety, health, and environmental component, also concern us. But we also concerned about revenue stream. Mind you, right now the price of iron ore is rebounding on the world market. The index price sometime, a few months ago was at $200 per ton. Of course, there's a fluctuation now in the black dots. We feel now it's time to bring to light all of the knowledge and new greenfield iron ore properties that can maximize all this uptrend. So happy about Checo has met the fundamental requirements for the engineering process. And we're happy to be here to answer all the queries. So in terms of further technical explanation, I will turn over to my Deputy Minister of Operations, Mario Shema, who will provide for the elaboration of the technical aspects. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister. This agreement, proposed agreement, is a mineral development agreement, originated from mineral exploration license issued in 2008. And for the initial 3 years, the company carried out exploration. It was extended for 2 years as per the Minerals and Mining Law and the exploration regulation. Within that time, the company identified an initial resource, and then they submitted a request for a mineral development agreement in 2015. Then from 2015 till sometimes 2018, that request was placed on the shelf. So when we took over, we decided as a government to revamp all of these prospective concession areas in order to create jobs. So we engaged Checo, and we asked them to either take up an MDA or have a project canceled, which of course they adhere to. And we submitted a request for a mineral development agreement. But who is Checo? Checo Resources Liberia Limited is a Chinese company, a corporation to say, with several shareholders. We have Bao Steel Resources International. We have the Checo, the China Hinen International Corporation, and the China Africa Development Fund. So China Africa Development Fund's presence as a shareholder is very, very significant because of their ability to source funding for the investment. What led to this MPA? During the period of 5 years, the company did pre-feasibility study, what we call pre-feasibility study, to enable the company to identify the deposits, because if you find iron ore, then the next question is, the iron ore you have found, is it economically viable? Can you establish a mine? If so, how will you transport the ore? How will you ship the ore? All of these things are studied within the feasibility study. So based on the pre-feasibility study that was conducted by Checo, they identified 380 million tons of coal, out of which 9 million tons are direct shipping. That is very soft. It doesn't require any hard processing. So in terms of the cost of extraction, it's very low. So that's why most companies go for the DSO, the direct shipping. So look at the number, 380 million tons. Only 9 million tons have been identified as direct shipping. Now, how are they going to, what are the plans to extract this coal? Now they have a production plan based on the presence of these 9 million tons. They want to truck 2 million tons every year for the next 5 years. Now, while at the same time do detailed feasibility study in order to set up a center feed. The reason for the center feed, that is the concentrator plan, is to enable the company blend the direct shipping ore with the hard ore, because out of the 380 million tons, 9 million tons are soft ore. So while they're mining the soft ore, they're looking at the hardness, the percentage of iron and other deleterious substances, that is unwanted substances, continue within the hard ore to see whether it is possible to crush it, because for us, the more the volume, the better it is, right? So we cannot just rely on 9 million tons. So 9 million tons, if you are using rope to transport the ore and export it, you can do that in 2 years' time. But because it's truck, you want to truck it, right? You want to start with trucking. You want to do that in the next 5 years. Hoping that within the 5 years, they will do detailed feasibility study to look at the possibility of constructing a concentrator plant, and that will give them the opportunity and the know-how as to how they're going to mine the entire 380 million tons. So what is the total investment package in terms of CAPEX and OPEX? That is your capital expenditure and your operational expenditure from the project. So based on the initial feasibility study, the company has estimated a little over $500 million as the investment package for the project. That includes what they're going to spend on the capital expenditure, what they're going to spend on the operational expenditure of the project. So about $550 million. But the question is, how are they going to spend it? So they have broken the investment package into 3 phases. Phase 1, they want to spend a little over $150 million. What will phase 1 contain? Phase 1 will entail preparing the haulage road, because as stated, the project, that is the Bomi East project, you see Bomi East project because it is situated east of the Bomi Hill, precisely around Bambuta, the town called Bambuta in Babulu County. And then looking at the possibility of the alternative of transporting the ore by rail, constructing a road from Bambuta into the nearest port. If you want to construct a rail, it will take time. The easiest way is to construct a haulage road, that is a lateral road, open it, and then send it to bond mines. You want to build a bridge over the St. Paul River, and then transport it over the bond mines, and put it on the train, and then transport it to Freeport, and then before shipping it. So that's the plan. So within the phase 1, right, which of course during that time we're going to create about 500 direct jobs, construction phase, and that entails construction of the rail, the road, camp construction, rehabilitation of the rail, rehabilitation of the port area. Based upon those plans, right? And then the synergy that the and so look at the synergy that will be formed between China Union about Checo is good because this deposit is a marginal deposit, a small size deposit as compared to other deposits. Other deposits, for example, the Kutu iron ore is talking about 4.5 billion tons, right? Other projects combined, you're talking about 1.2 billion, you know, or you're talking about something that is less than 400 million tons of iron ore. So, indicated phase. So by the time it goes to measurement drop. So that synergy is good because it talks about shared infrastructure, making sharing the infrastructure. So China Union has consented to allow Biochico use the real facility and food facility, which is good for us. So in terms of employment, the company will produce over 500 jobs during the first phase, construction phase, direct jobs, right? When the operation starts, right, there will be 100 direct jobs, that is permanently employed people, right, that will go through all the projects, right? So what are those things they want to do within this MDA in terms of developmental initiative? They're going to construct and develop that bombing east area that will allow them to be able to exploit the gold by putting in new bridge over the Singapore area. They're going to rehabilitate and expand, I spoke about that, the existing rail, and they're going to construct some feeder roads in the area, access routes, which is very, very good. They're going to build camps and construct buildings. Currently, the camp they have in Apollo, other side, is a small camp. Those of you who know the area, you see the vehicles and other things. They have a prefab, but they're going to build real camp there. So that tomorrow when they leave, when the infrastructure return, the government will use it for other projects. In terms of benefit, development funds, what exactly ought to come to, go directly to the people of Babu, under social contribution. Within the first 5 years, that's the effective date after it's signed, within 5 years' time, the company is going to make available about 500,000 annually within the next 5 years, right, to the company, to the people of Babu. Initially, the company said that it would make 200,000 available, but after our presentation to the Senate, intervention by other senators and pushing, and the company now have updated that to $500,000 within the next 5 years. So on the 6th anniversary, they're going to step it up from 500,000 to $800,000. So annually, 800,000 annually. That is after the 6th anniversary of the project. So until the project ends, will be $800,000 annually back to the company as annual social contribution. Other social initiatives, housing, going to provide housing for the workers, going to provide health service in form of insurance and other facilities as provided, or payment arrangement. So you can find out under section 10.1 of the MDA. In terms of social contribution to training and education, the company have agreed to provide primary education throughout high school and high school free of charge to each dependent, right? They're also going to support those kids that are in the local schools, right, free of charge. And then they have agreed to set up what we call an educational grant. Initially, they had $30,000 annually, but again, based on the intervention of senators and other key stakeholders, they have now agreed to provide $80,000 annually to this educational grant in terms of training. And they also prepared to train Liberians, foreign training in the area of masters and other areas in key areas of specialization, which is good for us. In terms of signature fees, the company will pay $3 million as signature fee to the government. In terms of mode of payment, 30 days after the effective date, the company will pay $1.5 billion to the government of Liberia. So that is 30 days after the agreement is ratified. signed the NDA. And then on the first anniversary, that is after you have been effective, 1 year after, you're going to pay another $1 million to government coffers. And then on the second anniversary, you're going to pay the balance $500,000 to government. So thereby completing the payment of $3 million as series of payment. So basically, and then additionally, all of those provisions as per the revenue code, the minerals and mining law, all of those provisions will be applied. Now, what is important is this, mineral development agreement is an agreement that government enter into an eligible applicant for a Class A mining license. The mineral development agreement does not give you that cash blank authorization to mine, right? You have to obtain a Class A mining license. Now, in this agreement that is before you, honorable members of the legislature of the House, there are provisions for the company to obtain additional exploration license, and that exploration license, we refer to that as development exploration license. That's the only license that will allow them to complete the detailed feasibility study and apply for a Class A mining license, right? When that is done, because in order to get a Class A mining license, there are other things you have to provide. Mining guarantee, environmental guarantee. So all of those things, you see them in that MDA. So having said that, I want to thank you for this opportunity for giving an overview on the Checo agreement. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Police, I know you are taking notes, but since we have the NRC, I would just suggest that you allow the NRC to make his presentation, and then we can follow that with questions and answers. If that makes sense to you, Police, can we go ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To be here before this committee, House of Representatives. I think my colleague, Mr. Sherman, has done an overview of the agreement. I just wanted to make some highlights on specific issues of concern. One is the issue of the government has a policy of creating multi-user infrastructure systems. And what was important with this agreement was that we're now going to make what you call the bunk mine rail, a multi-user rail system. So as part of that process, Checo is going to construct a haulage road as integrated by Honorable Sherman, and build a bridge. We'll truck the iron ore to the rail line, and they will transport the iron ore to the port. So as part of this agreement, Checo is to rehabilitate the existing line, the Pongman line, and also to rehabilitate the China Union Port. All of this is in the spirit of a multi-user rail and port infrastructure system. I was just speaking to the Minister of Mines, and I said to him that we're also looking at Western Customs using the China Union port facilities to also ship. So this was an important consideration under this agreement. As it relates to some of the changes that you might see in this draft, and I just thought to clarify that, you'll see there are 2 signature pages in this draft, and was raised by the Senate. And what we did was to try to have a consolidated signature page. So I'm sure by the time the agreement is passed by the upper house, when it comes to, you see a consolidated page. It's not in this current draft, but that was done as part of our the hearing with the Senate. And some of the upgrades to certain payments that the minister spoke about. For example, in the original draft that was negotiated, the payment was what, for the 300,000 for the first 5 years, and then 500,000. So there has been an upgrade to that. So for the first 5 years, as of the effective date, the company will pay $500,000, And then for the remainder 20 years, because these are 25 years mineral development agreement. For the remainder 20 years, they will pay $300,000 or $800,000. It's all about the engagement with the company post hearing at the Senate. So also for the scholarship, it was $30,000 annually. That was also upgraded to $80,000. So they've agreed to that. We send them the updated pages. The initial that they came back to us, the initial that we also presented that to the Senate. So I just got to add. I said where there are specific interventions or questions that might, be brought up by the I think Honorable Shema is doing a pretty good job to give an overview of the entire. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. Please, we have followed the presentations. I want to give you the okay, so we want to give you the opportunity, I'm sure, as the presentations were being made, you follow and have jotted some points. As a way of starting with the reactions, I would like to beg your indulgence to kindly allow me talk to the other chairs, other committee chairs, just based on brief reaction. Then we can come to the members. Please, if that means your approval. So with that, Chairman,
thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me say thanks to the ministers and the NRC boss, and thanks to my colleagues for being here. I have few concerns. Let me say clearly, categorically clear that investment is better for our people. And the more investors we have in our country, it will be better for Liberia. But the most technical aspect is how the investment or the investor will relate to our people. And so we, as the people, every day, we are more concerned. So, Mr. Chairman of the Joint Committee, let me say thanks for the earlier deliberation. Yeah, my issues. Mr. Chairman, before I proceed, can I ask whether this public hearing we have any issues of oath? If there are oath, if there are oath, then I would like to ask my strict chapter question to some of the ministers and the NRC boss. So my first concern has to do with
I think we'll try to beg for a few of your members. As important as it is. Yeah, no, Babu can stay. Yeah, and she can stay too. Good man. I'm going to ask for you, you got to come upstairs. How you doing? You got to come upstairs. They will come back. They will soon come back.
Yeah, but the joint check, they only allow 3 persons.
No, 1-6.
No, that more than 3. The number would be
your quorum has been established. Don't worry. Oh, when they come back, let's go, please. We're coming back soon. Abu Kamara.
I would like to.
Hey, you can go. I will be here. I will brief you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Why?
Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, our colleagues from the executive, thank you very much. I listened to the presentation made by the investors, as well as by the NIC, as well as the Ministry of Land, Mines and Energy. I have two questions. One of my questions is, we know the Bureau of National Concession normally follows up all of these brilliant writing, impressive writing relative to the benefits to the country. But from my experience, some of these benefits, sometimes after a year or two, some of these companies do pay. And NIC, I'm sorry, I don't know whether there is a way that you can do a follow-up of these things that are promised in the agreements, that they are made available to the community as well as the government as a whole. Whether there is a way that you work with the Bureau of National Investment, the Bureau of National Concession. The next concern here is it possible, Mr. Minister, that some of these agreements will always allow the raw materials to go out? Is it possible that in some of these agreements, something is embedded for finishing products? Iron ores come from here, we give our iron ore out at a very cheap price. Then we buy sea raw at a very high price. Is it possible that something is embedded in some of these agreements, if it is not the particular one? Mr. Chairman, these are the two concerns I thought that I raised before whatever answers I come and police will tell me or will tell me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Zaza. So we're giving the time to speak because the speaker asked that he joined the leadership.
Yes, sir.
But actually it was from the chair on mines.
Yes,
who was on the floor.
yes, sir.
So the witnesses, I'm sure they are taking note. So we'll come back to
So thank you, Honorable Zaza, for the salient point made. As I was deliberating, and I said there are a few issues that I would want to speak to. And then as the chair of the joint committee said, they will have to come back as we deem so fit, and some of the more technical questions will be asked as we go along the way. So I would like to start from the earlier statement made by the commission, the investment commission. That has to do with the increasement in the fees payment that the chairman spoke about. So I'm concerned because we have just started. And trust me, as a people deputies, like Honorable Madako said, we speak to our people. We see that iron ore price is skyrocketing. And from where I'm sitting, I strongly believe that the amount that has been listed, or even the increased amount, the proposed increased amount at the Senate, I still strongly believe that it's small. And as we go along the way, we will do our own technical work and propose a counter propose to what they have made. Because I strongly believe that our people must benefit from these resources. Gone are the days that mining companies will operate in our area. A small county like Babolu, sorry to say, that you'll mine there for the next decade, and nothing will be left in Babolu. You're talking about rehabilitating roads. In my mind, I still feel that we must be clear on uncertainty, and the MDA must be clear to those issues. So we will, as the committee move on, we start to do our work, we will counter propose. So I just wanted you to have that in mind, that what have been proposed by them. We as the people, because our people speak to us directly daily, because we representing them. So we will speak to them, like the joint committee chair said, we'll speak to the Babolu Corporation, we'll speak to the citizens of Babolu County, Because we don't want to go tomorrow, they will represent it, just pass it. At the end of the day, they will be affected, we will be affected. So we're very much concerned. So I just want you to have it in mind that on our side, the numbers might likely increase, and trust me, I think we will increase it. Because at this junction, we know that the price of iron ore now, that amount does not even commensurate with what they will earn from Liberia. The other one I wanted to speak about is the one that has to do with the environmental issues. I don't know, and Mr. Tapper is not here. I just wanted to ask a straight jacket question whether he's involved with the crafting of the MDA. Because you would agree with me that around the world now, environmental issues is a serious thing. Currently, there's a conference going on in Glasgow that you guys are as well. We cannot overemphasize the issues of our environmental protection for our people, most especially with the kind of chemical that will be used and so forth. So they are not here, and we wanted to ask them what their input in the construction. So following that, that the normal saying with MDA, they will follow the environmental protocol, the environmental rule, and blah, blah, blah. Those are not the issues we're talking about. They were sitting here, we were asking the very questions. So just have it in mind that we will look into it and ask them what an input there and how they form part of the MDA. So we don't want for MDA to just come from NRC and then in the land ministry, mines and energy. And you living on even, I don't even think, Mr. Chairman, before going to mines and energy, I want us to even write the Wash Commission. The water that they will be using on the mine, all of the waters that will be used, we have a new commissioner called the Wash Commission. They must pay for the water. The Water Commission must be here to tell us how they form part of the process, whether they were part of the making of the MDA. We're not going to go and start using the water. It's a natural resource there for us. And that's why we have a commission responsible for that. You will pay for the water that you'll be using and how the water treatment will be to save the life of our people. So those are things we want to know, how they got involved. Those are my concerns. Those are my issues with water, environmental issues. And then to the mining lesson itself. I just want to ask a straight question. How long? Now I'm saying how long, I want you to be frank with me. I just want to ask the issue about Checo. When they were giving exploration lessons, what did they conduct? Did they conduct a pure exploration as per the law, the mining law? And I want you to be clear on that. Whether they conduct the exploration before the MDA will be issues. We want it to be clear. That is why I asked the question whether you are on or off. And Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, lastly to close off. Onizada spoke about the steel manufacturing in Liberia. Currently, we have a steel manufacturing plan here. And I think, yeah, we can find a way around a percentage of the iron ore can be left here that we can process it. We can't have people buying iron ore over the place. And steel prices are even going on high when you'll be mining steel iron ore in this country. So we can look at it, and those are conversations we can have. Because we can say we manufacture oil, but the percentage of it must be, and those MDA must be clear. That percentage will be left here to be used squarely for that purpose here. And that will alleviate some of the hardship on our people as we talk about the proper agenda. Because the proper agenda must alleviate our proper agenda poverty. The steel prices are low. It means more people will start to build. So, Mr. Chairman, those are just my concerns. I want the minister to answer that question clearly, whether they conducted a real exploration or they brought or just a MDA for us to pack. And when they say yes, then we'll move to the next question if they want to have to do with the exploration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure you're taking those, right? Okay, so can we have at least 3-4 questions up here? So we don't have a long list. So maybe we ask 3 questions at a time. Is that good? They are taking more than 3 questions. So my point is that if they have a long list, we lost track of some things. So we have 3 at a time, and then we come back to okay, so Minister. You took note of the concerns from Honorable Zaza and then from Honorable.
The first one was nice. Yes. Okay. How do we get
The chair will determine the sequence. So the one I'll address to the minister, he will answer that. And then we'll come to the NRC.
Okay, so
Mr. Minister.
Yeah, so let me just our vision was concerned about the payment fees being too small. Mind you, the payments are made consistent with the value of the resource. These are small scale mining operations. Because positive is not very, very large. Like very definitely section. It's not like at Puchu, we have more than 4.5 billion tons of iron ore. So we have to be mindful of investment versus profit. So it's something that we can consider if it's reasonable and if the resource has sufficient substantiation to provide for extra payments. Mr. Checo will elaborate on that further, but then was also concerned whether the methodical exploration activity was conducted. I would say yes. In 2008, I issued the exploration license as Assistant Minister for Exploration and Environmental Research. This one. So they have been conducting exploration, right? And like earlier on indicated, before a resource is accepted as real, as actual, there is a resource compliance framework that has to be done by an independent person. The judges who will certify what the company has for, and that was done by means of the drug compliance framework.
Checo Minister
In
2008.
It was issued, the license was issued in 2008.
My question is about Checo. Did they conduct exploration?
Yes. Yes.
As Checo, he said license issued in 2008 was a Checo.
Well, it doesn't have necessarily be that particular Checo.
So I mean,
the exploration was given for a particular
1 minute. I want to set the
yes.
Yeah, it was issued. It was
so
whatever about Checo.
And the minister is saying it don't have to be bad. That's what I say. So so let us be clear on it. I want to ask for hope.
Yes.
Okay.
So I come in. If it wasn't bad, Checo, it means somebody farm in or farm out. So then we start the conversation from it. But if bad Checo came to LIBERIA 2008, then we know. As bad Checo since 2008, exploration lesson of this.
So it's a direct question. Was the exploration done by Checo? This Checo? For the record.
For the record, it was done by Checo.
This Checo.
Yeah. Remember when I
You have
started,
evidence of that.
I started my presentation by stating the shareholders of Checo Resources are well limited. Yeah, and I stated that we have Steel International that has 50%, 51%. We have China Hine International that has 40%, and the China Africa Development Fund that has 9.9%. 2008, the exploration license was issued to China Hine, which is a subsidiary of Checo.
Minister, let me hold you there, Minister. Minister, you see where you're coming from now, they're raising more questions in my mind now. I ask a straight definite question. Did Checo conduct exploration? You said yes.
Yeah.
Exploration lesson by law cannot be issued to another company. And you say another company because it's a subsidiary, they are the one that conducted the work. And that is why I'm clear. If it was not issued to Checo for the record, because you say issued to Checo, will request for all of the documents.
Yeah,
so now you are saying it was not issued to Checo.
Yeah, honorable. Let me answer that. You see, besides the minerals and mining law, we have a mineral exploration regulation that was promulgated in 2010. Now, the mining law, you have the right to transfer, right? You have a license. A company X can take a license, right? And then internally you can come in. Now, if you transfer, right, you pay, you have to be approved by the government and you pay capital gain tax. Now, if you don't transfer and internally, you don't change the name of a company, it can roll on. So all obligations, right, according to the exploration regulation.
Minister, Chairman, I don't want to monopolize the conversation, Chairman. If I speak on this, I will leave it, Chairman. There are
one minute, I will wait. Mr. Minister, this is a direct question. Am I hearing that the exploration was done by China Hine before the China Hine and Checo came together as Chico, or this exploration was done by Chico after they formed into Chico, or that since China Hine is a subsidiary, the work was done by China Hine and there was a farming in and farming out, which in your own explanation you have said they are procedures. So if there was a farming out and farming in and out, was that the case? Was there farming and farming out, or it was done by Chico when they formed into Chico?
Yeah, Honorable Chair, if we were informed earlier about this, we have brought in all of the corporate information as you requested now. Yeah, because what we know, right, as I stated, when we issue the license, right, we have the exploration regulation. Now, the way it's done, right, most of these companies, let me give you an example, right? If you look at Putu Iron Ore, Putu Iron Ore, right, as the name indicates, right, the exploration license was issued to Mano River Resources. And then Mano River Resources, right, have a subsidiary of Silver Star. You know, Silver Star took over and have procurement. So when you're given the MDA to make it strong so that no one can escape, right, you hold the parent company, everybody gets involved. This is what really happened. Exploration license in 2008 was issued to Checo, right, China Hine, who is also here, right? But because, right, of this MDA and investment, for our Checo, right, that's a single thing, the single company backed by the China Development Fund. So they are the one that take up the responsibility for this agreement. That is the reason why they submitted, like the chairman of the National Investment Commission can speak to that.
So, Minister, Minister, let me just close off and leave it with the rest of my colleagues. Yeah, my thoughts about it. When you have such a corporation, we as legislators will want to know the beneficial ownership. Right. And that is why I was definite on my question.
Yeah,
one minute now, you have a lesson issue to you and I. Let me learn for you. You and I, all of them have a company. Under the law of Liberia, China Hine is established entity under the law of Liberia with a tax number. China Hine to have an exploration lesson must be registered under the law of Liberia as a business. Am I correct?
Correct.
So it means China Hine is an institution established. When Chico coming to buy into China Hine for it to be a farming, there's a procedure we just said. So my question was just simple. China Hine conduct exploration. Whether they sold or whether they farm into the shareholder, there's a procedure. We did not do those.
Mr. Minister.
So it means Chico did not conduct exploration at all.
Mr. Minister, we have our colleagues will have a big giving time aspiration. I just want to ask, as a work interested, was there farming and farming out?
Can I speak to that? Because I don't know the details. What I do know is that Chico also has a team number, same as China Hine. But the initial exploration license that was granted, the initial exploration license that was granted, signed by the minister, right, was granted to China Hine, right? And then when we took over, because the license had been lying dormant, and in an effort to resuscitate all of these deliberate mines, we also pushed the same way we approached China Union to begin, approached Putu and Silver Star, Western Cluster, we approached Checo. And they told us they applied for MDA since 2015. They said, well, you either come back or we cancel it, right, and do something else with it. And then where we requested all of those documentation, we looked through and we saw Chico. And as a secret question, we saw all of the documentation. That's why in the MDA we listed, you see all of the shareholders.
Minister, we have a lot of our colleagues. I'm not the issue of the ownership. I think you have done well in establishing the ownership. The procedure, they're asking you, and you say, you cannot say that now, whether there was a farming in and farming out. It is established here that Checo as Checo did not conduct the exploration. Exploration was done by China. Now, on our laws, if somebody else did a job, even if they are coming to you, I'm sure there's a whole procedure, and I'm happy the NRC is here. I'm just asking you if the procedure was followed. Can we have an evidence of how the process was followed? At this point, the issue of the ownership, it has been established. The issue of the exploration, because if we're giving a concession to Checo, then Checo must have done an exploration as Checo. So if they did not do it as Checo, they did it, or one of the subsidiaries did it before the companies came together. We just want to see what became the transaction between them and move forward. Now, we will not give them, but it's a point of note. So we can keep on this point.
Chairman, this is where I'm coming from, right? And the legal man will speak to that. We can go to court as legislator for issuing an MDA for another person exploration that was conducted if the process are not followed properly.
So it is good for us to take note on it, that we have a concern about that. We just want to be clear on the procedure. So we can keep on this thing until we delay the time. But at least you have said it wasn't done by Checo asking.
He said he has to come back on one point.
Okay.
That indicates that
Mr. Minister and NRC. Again, my name is Kanye Westbrook from Buffalo and chairman of the Judiciary Committee. But what I see in the question posed to you by Honorable Willie, it seems to me that your presentation has leakages. It has serious leakages. The chairman, since this has to do with Liberia, by extension Buffalo, and since the minister is telling us that he cannot fully explain, can I ask that you make full disclosure today, or you take an excuse to come back with all the information? Because what we're talking here, we will now want to experience what led to bombing. Today there are bombing holes. We have not even started going into the nitty-gritty of the issue. But if it is established that Checo did not do this research, but instead it was another company, and then the glory is now being given to Checo, it means there is some leakages somewhere. We need to know.
Okay, I want to, the chair want to rule on this.
And that's not my stand here to talk.
The chair want to rule on this. I think the hearing has established that the exploration wasn't done by Checo after the Checo as it is now. It was done by a company before, and that company is a part of this, the current Checo. I'm sure the laws speak to what happens if there was a farming in and farming out. Somebody is taking on the exploration done by another one. There is a capital gain as done by the minister. So I wanted to take, I said from the beginning that the hearing is not going to end today. So we take note of that. At the end of the hearing, the executive will be giving list of things that we want, but at least now they have taken note. And that's something that we want clarity on. So I would suggest, colleagues, that we keep that as a note and move on to the other points.
Yeah, but Honorable, I think it would be fair enough because we have the email agreement here. And I think it is a matter of clarity. I think we will provide that clarity. You see, you have the license was issued to China, and the parent company for China is Checo. That's why it is in the agreement here. All of the things.
I think the clarification that we need is that what you call Checo, China and Bao Steel, right? Both of them got a parent company. Parent company is Bao Checo Resources. So you see, that's their parent. Their parent has signed on to this agreement with the Liberian outfit, or what you might consider the subsidiary. So I don't see where the issue is. If you have one parent company, and the parent company has several smaller companies, if one has an exploration license, And for the purposes of the NDA, the merge the two companies, what's the issue?
And I see. I think the chairman said we raise it to right.
Don't this an issue?
Don't they want us to do that debate here?
No, sorry, Chairman. So just as the presiding said, we have to leave it at that.
No.
It is not a big deal until the law needs it. So we have to go to exploration, regulation.
That's all.
What does the law say? So you go back and get it. We get back.
Thank you,
and get it.
Bano.
The next time will be whatever the law says, they will be guided by the law.
So at this,
that's whole corporation law.
so at this point, it's not about what you have in the agreement. It's about the concerns that are raised and what the law says. That's what I'm saying. For us to go into what the law says now, it might take us long. I said from the beginning, the hearing is not ending today. So we take note of it. We will check what the law says. You will check what the law says. The next time we meet, I'm sure there will be an answer. There will be an answer. But it is good for all to take note that the exploration was not done by Checo as Checo. So if it was done by a subsidiary, then we always research on what the law says about if something is done by a constituent company under a parent company. What does the law say? At this point, it's not about how I feel. It's about what the law says. So the chair is ruling that we hold it at that. The next time we meet,
So let me provide a critical information. Right. In the resource sector, the junior resource usually takes up the very stage at the exploration and then draws in the senior resource. I'm assuming that happened in this particular case, but we research and refer to the resource.
okay. So the other points I will raise. I think what was Zaza asked 2 questions.
Yeah.
Of course, some of it was fear of what is happening now. What is the guarantee? That some of what they say, of course, that's futuristic.
Right.
That's what we ask.
Sorry.
Our NRC.
The NRC,
Yeah. No, the first one was the issue of MDC following up. Yeah. So the clarity that's required is that at a point that the parties sign on to the agreement and is subject to the president, the NRC is not involved in monitoring evaluation. So that entire after ratification or post ratification, the MDC that has that. The point where we are brought back into the fray is when there's a 5-year review period. As it is in most of the agreement, when that 5-year period comes up, then the NRC and the other entities are involved. However, the sector ministry also has a key statutory responsibility as it relates to some of the technical monitoring and stuff as it relates to the agreement, because the companies will usually present reports, all right, quarterly reports for the ministry, and so the ministry is also involved. So the ministry can speak to that, but the NRC is not involved until after the fact, around the 5 years.
And then, the financial obligations of the MDA is being monitored by the Ministry of Finance. The environmental component is monitored by the EPA. The financial aspect of the Ministry of Finance
And the LRA.
Whereas the environmental component is monitored by the EPA. Yeah. So and then Honorable Zaza also talked about the value addition possibilities.
Right.
Added value to taking certain percentage of iron. Now, to make iron, all of steel, all of iron, is not only you not only need just having iron ore alone cannot make steel. You need other material, right? Coal, manganese, magnesium. You need limestone, and we don't have limestone. Our only manganese deposit from Donjo manganese deposit in the global in the Kabbalah area, the southeast. That area have been declared global park, so we cannot explore that manganese. So you cannot just take a steel because you have iron ore and make steel. It is good to have value addition because our mineral policy talk about adding value from the other element. Until we can find that, it's a bit difficult to make steel from the iron ore fresh from the mine. So the steel factory we have here, the recycling steel. Or they take the iron ore and say you put it in steel, you have to import limestone, and then if you did that, limestone and other compound, you reduce the cost of the project, I mean the cost of the investment. Because you spend a lot of things on your overhead costs. So that's the technical part. Someone talked about the environmental concerns, the environmental issue. Now, the IMCC, the Inter-Ministerial Concession Committee, headed by the chair of the National Investment Commission, is the committee that negotiates the Mineral Development Agreement. And you have finance, justice, and key member by the PPCCI. Now, the MDA, you see, there's a model MDA. It captures environmental obligations. That's why I stated that in there you will see requirements for obtaining mining, for obtaining a Class A mining license. So you have to submit mining guarantee. You have to submit environmental guarantee. So that it is important. Unlike other agreements, there are no obligation to submit environmental guarantee. The reason for that, when you complete mining, your mine closure plan, there's a cost attached to it. So we're saying before we grant you that mining license, you have to submit that mining guarantee and that environmental guarantee that will take the mine closure plan, other impact that will be considered. That's why within the period of 2 years that will be granted to the company for exploration, they are under obligation to carry out full ESIA, because it is part of your definitive feasibility study to determine the impact that the project will have on the environment. Then with that, they come up with a mitigation plan, the EMP. So it is all required. So the environmental component is captured, and it is the EPA that going to monitor that emission mass. So that's it. To tell you how deeply involved the EPA is.
So also let me just add to another factor about the energy cost. The energy for a steel plant production is enormous. You need cheap energy. So all of these ingredients will fit into the basket. So there we can get cheap supply of electricity. Now we see as we are trying to enhance domestic generation, expanding the market, all of that. So the critical mass is the energy factor.
Can I speak to the water? Yeah, I think, yeah, so when we negotiated the agreement, the company is not liable to pay any levy related to water use. And the reason is that, especially, I think when Minister Checo spoke, he talked about the first few years, DSO, and then they will build a concentrate. And the concentrate will require to use a lot of water. If you say the company should pay for that water, I think the cost. There'll be additional cost on them that can be captured in other ways in there.
No, Chairman, the cost will be high.
The cost will be high on the company.
Yeah, no, coming. The cost will be high, so we should consider them not to pay, or they are not supposed to pay.
When we negotiated the agreement, we shouldn't pay any levy associated with water use. So if they build housing for the
They said no. What we're discussing now, I want us to take it step by step. The cost is high, or the company is not supposed to pay. Yes, there's a possibility that you can have a responsibility. I can decide that even though you're supposed to do this, but I'm deciding that I will waive it. Are we waiving it, or they are not supposed to do it? It's not an obligation, but they are supposed to do it.
No, they are not supposed to. In the event, let me explain this. So just one second. Water and Sewer came up with a regulation and said if you are using water at a commercial level, you should pay.
Yes.
And so most of the companies raise an issue with that because of the company will use a lot of water. So I'm saying that issue came up in this agreement.
Not to pay. Yeah, Chairman.
But anyway, it's before.
These issues, we just raised it. Yeah, we are raising it. I mean, I
I
like the way they hear
the
it.
country lost it from that time and I say you free water.
Yeah, I like it. You see, what I don't want to do is to ask them to do something that is not their responsibility. So it can be their job. I can decide, look, I'm going to waive it. But I ask you and say we are waiving it. I say, are they supposed to do it? You said no.
Based on the regulation, yes. If you say applicable law, all right, in the agreement, based on the regulation, then yes. Then that means because they will use water at a commercial level. That's a given.
But if there is a law that is if there's a law that is shoot, and then you waive it, then what are you doing to the country? If there's a law, so you choose the already.
You don't even have that right.
No.
So when the interministerial concession committee negotiate
no
their
waiving
agreements,
Only us have that right.
Let's protect it with this.
so that right is delegated by this legislature to that committee by law.
Sorry?
That right to make this kind of consideration, all right, is delegated from this. So by extension, you are making a decision because you empower us to sit at the table to negotiate.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So
I give you power to negotiate, to take that decision. But I think it's also good for you to know that I have a power to say yes to you or not. Because I gave you the power. Is that right?
Of course, but if you give me the right to make certain decisions, and after I've used my fair judgment to make those decisions, I come back to you and say, no, I don't accept what you did. Well, fine, then the legislation can come up with those, and we can take it back to the investor.
You can't advise, but I mean, because you advise, it doesn't mean we can just take it because you advise.
What we say,
That was the flat rate instead of renegotiation.
what we say, Chairman, is you see, we want to in a public. This is a public hearing. Yeah. I don't want the public to hear that the legislature should pay for water wrongly, or that we are asking them to do something. We are wrongly asking them. That's why you see me. I'm taking my time to ask. By the regulation, they are supposed to do it. By the negotiation, the NIC and the Interministerial Committee decided that probably this will be very high, so we are waiving it. It doesn't mean that the fact that you waive it there, it means it's a final, or as a document will not come from ratification. So let us take it that look, they are supposed to pay for the water, for the negotiation, waive it. For us to agree that it should be waived is our decision to take. But we thank you for making the decision, using your fair judgment. Thank you for using your fair judgment. It is not subject to our own fair judgment. So in the end, there will be a decision. So I think we'll move on.
Before you move on this issue, and we have to look at what's obtaining other concessions, mining concessions. Mind you, the critical objective of the project is to have a win-win situation. The company's operational expenditure cannot be so high that it goes to the negative cash flow.
This legislature is not insensitive. But we're trying to bring all the points. It doesn't even mean that we'll impose it. But it is good for us to be informed about these decisions were made based on this. So in the end, we could agree with you or not agree. So we are not ignorant that the operational cost of the company. Yes. The people sitting around this table are very experienced.
Well, I wanted to say that the company will look at what other concession years have been getting.
We will consider that. Yes. Thank you for using your fair judgment. Now it's before us. I'm sure there are a lot of things you have done before that will accept it. But it is good for us to know that this is how the decisions were made on the executive side. It has come to us, and you are convincing us that this is why we did it. So leave it to us now to determine that yes, you did the right thing, we'll go with it, or come around the table instead of charging this, how we can have a middle ground. Those are all possibilities. At this point, it is now with us to use our fair judgment to determine what becomes the final decision. All right, but we are not ignorant of what happened in the investment cycle. I don't think we'll take a decision that will disadvantage. It cannot disadvantage them, but it cannot also disadvantage the state. I think that's what we say.
But Chairman,
Honorable Dennis.
Chairman, I just wanted to pick it there quickly before we close on. When the water Commission came into being. All of these concessions that the minister is speaking about, they were all passed and are in operational before the Water Commission came into being. The Water Commission Act was being passed in 2017. 2018, His Excellency President George Manuel appointed the commissioners and the executive director. It means going forward, all concessions that will be using water and that will appear before the legislature must pay for water. How much they will pay is left with the legislature to determine that. Right. So it's a compensation we can have around the table. But it's not a plan card. All concessions are coming to honor will pay for water.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Chairman, distinguished colleagues, and our colleagues from the executive. So as Chairman rightly said, this is not a final meeting of the gather engagement, and I'm sure that we will have the opportunity to meet the Checo company. Sure. But just going through this document, both the executive and the legislature, we are one government, and we must negotiate in the best interest of our country and for our people. So there are a few things that I would like to pose to them. They don't have to answer all yet. They will answer it, but we need to take care of our people. The first thing, the pre-feasibility document is very important that the committee have that, so we can be able to look at relevant sections that they pointed out in the document, that we can make informed that we can make informed decision, the pre-feasibility assessment and the report. Okay. So Mr. Chairman said what I wanted. I wanted the amount of tons. He said it's 380 million tons. One thing I noticed when we went to the accelerator mine, now Checo is telling us out of the 380 million tons, only 9 million tons is direct shipping oil. How can we validate that? These companies, they will come in our country, they will tell you what they want to give you just for them to have more profit. It's incumbent on us. How can we ascertain or validate that indeed for this 380 million ton, only 9 million ton is DSO, and the other one we would need to go through concentrator. Because when I met that street, it was completely different. Even was somebody was there, it was completely different. And that is a fundamental flaw, not just with Liberia, but in Africa with all of our mineral resources. The data we have is the data these business guys can bring, and which is obvious. I will understate it so that I can do that. I'm just thinking, how can we evaluate that? Maybe we need to go to future. I'm glad my professors are here on the table, so definitely we will have to ascertain that. The mineral tap is not so important, just more technical, but it's not very important. Then I don't see anything. Maybe we have not reached that part on the production sharing, just in case, or is that captured in the report? Like after you finish, you'll be money for. Okay, okay. So we also interested in what is that? What is there for Liberia? You also spending 500 million. It's not all about us, but we want to make sure that they spend this money, they get some profit, and we have some benefit. Then the honorable minister talked about using of China Union Port through his explanation. The party was going to use China Union Port. I'm also thinking on the cost they will attach to them, because is the China Union a different company, right? Yeah. Okay, so that's a different company. What is the cost is going to cost to Baltimore as compared to them? So when they leave, then we have more than one. If it's very expensive having it, or if it's almost equal to, then maybe there's no need, so that China Union cannot receive everything that we're supposed to have. So the 25 years agreement for extraction, the honorable minister talked about the lateral growing. I think the chairman mentioned we have to know the cost to do asphalt road because they go money all from Baku. Apparently, that's the only economic benefit from that region that will help those people to be able to have asphalt pavement. So we also need to know the cost. For example, if it's 4 kilometer road we're talking about, how much does it cost for you to put the asphalt there? So it is better that we can even deduct that from our benefit doing the production sharing so that we can be able to have a better road instead of after money for 25 years and you take your children back to back when we say Checo was the money, then you just bump here and go back. It's better that we have something that so it's really important that we look at that. One key thing I saw there, and I'm glad that the water also brought that out. We gave too many exemption to this company. Actually, the exemption the company really need is accountability, justice, and security. I think our chairman made some statement like that. But every time we go, we just give exemption because in the document that's carefully laid out. We gave me 10-year exemption for real property, 10-year exemption for all goods. But then the company will be subjected to ECOWAS trade tax from goods coming from ECOWAS, but then within ourselves. So it's just to look at what can we have that we can benefit. I think in my mind there's too many exemptions. We need to analyze them. We need to calculate them. We need to weigh it on them as to what are we really lost in.
the conversation,
Exactly. What are we really lost in? We can just always raise our hand and say, just because we want companies to come and mine us, so we just gave it everything. So for me, I will be very strong when it comes to exemption. I'll be very strong on the lateral rule. I'll be very strong on PFC. So okay, the raw material you already made that same point that I wanted to make. It is good for us, but it's actually not applicable now. Okay. Then the exploration regulation, we already talked about that. So I think they can help us with the regulation so we can be able to do that, but that's not much of a problem. And lastly, so the NRC bus. I think it's important we leave the company to come on the benefit to us instead of we start being sorry for them. I mean, if we put the water there, we put whatever we want to put there, there will always be negotiation before final. But if we got Sarapoha in Liberia, so that the same Sarapoha, yes. So let's just give them a lot that we can give them, and they will say like, I think that's just too much. And it's not happening in Nigeria, as Minister says, it's not happening in Sierra Leone. And then consciously, we can look at what is applicable to us. So these are few of my points. So I hope that we took that in at the next meeting with the lens in mind and the bar Checo. They will read through the document, they will be able to bring up more points.
Okay, so and I see the points you raised, those are very simple to me. I just want you to take note because we talk about 3 questions, or points are almost 4, and they are key to me. So we'll take one more person, and then we'll answer honorable.
So many information.
Yeah, information is a privilege movie.
Yeah, it's for you.
Information.
Yeah, it's always good to allow those at each door to tell you how to do this. Those who are there with
Information, not that. Information sustain. Information sustain. So the chair will take due note. The chair will take due note, but we'll take one more person, and then we'll use our advice. It's unfair. The chair takes note. We'll take one more person, and I will use to that advice.
Thank you.
Honorable. Yes. Briggs.
Thank you, Chairman. It's been a very good engagement. So, reach somewhere that we benefit the Nigerian people. One thing I always say, when our minerals are here and it's not being touched, it's still going to be there. Even when we leave, people are going to come and people are going to benefit. So the best thing is for us to do it properly, and we all will make a mark for Liberia. So my own question is, I just want to know, about Checo, where have they implemented such a thing in history? Then where have they implemented such a concession, mining and so? Because if you talk about hosting, you talk about these things, all of these things come always in the NBA, and then they are excited and signing at the end of the day. It's Telecom. Look at Channel Zero. In fact, they said, they didn't want to say we'll do hosting, but they de-roof what we have and left it as old village today. Definitely, I was talking to someone from Buffalo, and I mentioned about this concession, and I was looking at it, and the person said, see how people came before, won't continue over there. They said, I'm going to tell them, come on, bring them by here. So I was like, and I just let it because I don't know much about it. So, Check, I think we will also need to go on site to see what happened in there, and then look at it for the past 2008, what have they been doing there. And so it will be very important, but I think the discussion is going very well. It's for everyone else to take heed note of everything we're doing and do it the best way. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a very key point. The mining history or the operational history of the company is very important. So I want to yield to the advice of the honorable from NIMBA, and I think the advice applies to him. So I will give you.
Thank you. Thank you, Presiding. For me, that's three concerns. But before I start, I want to say that I hope that as a country, we are doing the right thing. And if we are doing the right thing, we need not to be going back and forth on some of these issues being discussed here. What I mean is that we have gone through this before. This is not just like 2005 when the issue of metal was being discussed, where Lamco days have just lost from our mind. We got metal that we can borrow from. We passed MDA, and we know there were some missteps. We know there have been some success story as to how the compliance issue has been with metal. So I just hope that we now will be borrowing from how we have handled the entire metal issue. Once that is done, trust me, we should be sailing smoothly. That's what I say. I hope we are doing the right thing. Having said that, I got two concerns. My concern is with the issue of the royalty and the social development fund. I don't know what measures being used as to determine the royalty that comes to government. You have situation with Meta, and I know that you learned from it. I hope this is being applied to this. That's one. The social development fund, if it is done the way it should, borrowing from what other countries have done and that has success in it, it will be a good thing for the government. It will be a good thing for the company because it will reduce most of the tension that I would want to say Meta is going through today. I know there was some God figure thrown at the people of Nimba, Bon, and Basel with regard to social development fund. That I think if the ministry or the NRC at the time, if they are sat in it and use other methods, the counties and the government in fact would have been benefiting more than what we benefited today. I would suggest that moving forward, because this is something that will come from some of the experts who are there with the issues in the past. 500,000, like you said, a social development fund could be a good thing for the people of Babolu. But how is it determined? One, is it possible that we go the other way around and say, okay, since you say you are to let how many million for? 2, is that what? 2 million per year. 2 million per year. Is it possible to say give up $5 per ton as a county?
I mean, it's specified, right?
Yes. Is it possible? Meaning that it could be a win-win. The community could win, and at the same time, the community too will stand out of a better advantage. If you lived with the 200 million, say for instance you have a situation you only live there 1 million. That $1 million you just multiply what is shown in the MDA, and that will be what will be going to the community. I'm just using the word $5, but it could be more, it could be less. Once you do that, you'll be doing justice to everybody. I just hope that can be applied, even taking it to what the royalty might be. So those are two things, Honorable Chairman, I just want to stress on the issue of the royalty and the issue of the social development fund. Thank you.
So Honorable Dennis raised a couple of points and then it has been added on by our colleague on the future. So please let them respond to those ones and then we can take the new budget concerns.
So can we start with EPS concern? So the royalty, we have a sliding royalty from 1 to I think 10%. The royalty is determined based on the value of the agro. For instance, I studied out as how my DSO. This has been 16 years. We have a royalty of 4.5%. Telling you that has very, very tough ore to extract. They have a royalty of 4.3%. So it's based on the value of the ore, which is anything costs like that. So it's something to consider. I like the thinking that you brought in the box. Is like lump sum versus percentage payment. Now, with a lump sum payment, you certainly are going to get that. I suppose there's a slump in the price of iron ore. For instance, for a certain point in time, there's almost a zero production. Some of these companies that have the mass, which is still obligated to say CSIR, CSR obligations. In spite of them not produce. But the other scenario we're trying to inject in that, the payments will come from production. We're looking at payments just based on the lump sum. So there are advantages and disadvantages. The lump sum payment, these are percentage. These are something that we can look at. The money history about Checo. We can go there. There's a copy to this company. You can go on the website and see how they pass. The site visit is also
for the sake of the hearing. Can you say what the history is? I know we can go on the website, but just a brief on. You took the decision, Mr.
Yeah, so Checo parent is Bao Steel, one of China's largest steel making companies. One of China's largest, if not the second, third largest. So that alone, China is one of the most advanced economies in the world. So if a company is the second or third in terms of steel production, I think this project, similar to China Union. So China Union is also owned by Bao Steel. They have the same parent. That's the reason why it's easy for us to let them give consent for Bao Steel to use the infrastructure to not pay money.
How Checo is also involved in the aluminum project as a partner.
Yeah. So they have a solid history.
So in addition to what comes to the company, I guess we are aware of the 5% undiluted. In the project that will come to the community according to the LIBERIA Act. So that's something that is good for the community. So in the project, automatically you have that 5%, and so I guess all of the counties will have to pray to fund the major deposit, because once you fund a deposit, automatically the community gets 5% undiluted free carry interest in the project. So 5% undiluted is in there according to the LIBERIA Act. Aside from all other benefits in line with the project.
Okay. So 1 year.
Can I follow up on my question, please?
On the history.
Yeah, but then again, if you tell me they got a link with China Year, and what our experience with China Year right now, they tell us that we got to check, yeah, very bad one too. And, yeah, and Monserrato everywhere. So then they tell us how do we distinguish the two companies with the currency? And
I know that song.
yeah, how do we do that?
Doesn't have a good record.
Yeah, they don't have it.
The current China is not there. China is about
That's how they see
Bao Chico owns China. Bao Steel owns China.
The China also said China.
I'll still own the yeah, who order them?
Okay, so Bao Steel
No one
owns
understands they want to
China.
buy through China, you know.
Bao Chico. One of my children are doing well.
Yeah, so that's the only reason why you see this project is going to NDA is because of the relationship that China Union and Baltimore have with China Union. But still, as a standalone project, it is not economically feasible to establish a mine over this deposit. Because for the railroad is cost yeah. So what makes it economically viable?
Because China here, one of the four.
So they want to use
So they want to use the other parent company. China here, one of the four. So rather we got serious problem with.
It's like you say your daughter perform.
Serious problem.
No, I don't think so.
We're taking note of discussions.
We are in discussions. But can I just give you similar to Bao Chico, like the minister said, it's the relic project. We're trying to bring all of them on stream. As we speak today, we're trying to bring people on stream. We're having discussions by December 31st. Should be somebody to look at amendment. Am I right, Minister? Yeah. We're discussing Western cluster around the Class A license, around rehabilitation of the port facility for China Union, and also permit for trucking through the corridor. We're trying to ensure that all the different counties can have some project of their own where they can get direct county development fund or whatever for the development. So China Union, we've written China Union. China Union is also prepared to come. You mentioned one issue I want to touch on. It will be difficult to get Bao Chico to sit physically around the table with us to discuss because of the associated challenges. No, you wanted to invite them to come.
You mean when I come to the
no, I'm proposing something. I'm proposing.
One meeting.
No, please, one meeting.
We need to leverage technology.
One meeting, please. Police, tell me 1 minute. Police, the witness is making a point. We all have a chance of making point. See, these hearings are in the public. It's good for all to follow. The chairman said is difficult.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Similarly,
so I'm waiting.
Spend 1 year and a half.
I'm waiting for him to end, and I'll ask you what makes it difficult.
For 1 year and a half, we use Zoom to have our negotiations. So I know the challenges associated. We even have to do counter signing because of the restrictions. When you leave China, you go back, you spend 45 days in quarantine. So to get around that, I'm just making a proposal that maybe we can look at, WebEx or Zoom or something that will allow the same interaction with the community. That was nice.
Okay, it's difficult, but it's not impossible.
So neutralize.
It's not impossible. Okay, yeah, but let's also remember, Chairman, that even if it's difficult to get to where we are, don't forget that this company, the executive took more than 1 year.
You are mentioning the negotiation with that.
Yes, it took more than 1 year. Even Bachi, it was not 1 week.
No.
Yeah, so we will not be expected that the legislature will take decision in 1 week. So yes, the company, whatever we will determine it, the company will not do mining through Zoom.
You pass the MDA today, they will come.
The company will not do money.
Well, twice, you pass the MDA, they will come.
So,
The resource is flexible, so
so I hear the concern. I hear the recommendation about technology. But if today they were giving rights to operate, and then it will be here in person the next day. So please, I'm sure you have a connection with them. You have a communication line with them. We don't. Just tell them that you have raised all the difficulties for them being physically present. And you have raised a concern that one of the interests that they must show in Liberia is to make effort to go outside of their comfort zone. So yes, they will not do mining on Zoom. Technology is good, but they will not do mining. They have to be there physically. And they are not coming here, they're not charity group, they're business. So if doing negotiation, you cannot be available when I gave you the right, you probably will not even come up. And we should take note of all these things. As we do the negotiation, when people come to this country, they must prove that they are serious. You know, it's not just, we're not looking at it from the technical side. If you tell me you will negotiate for 1 year, and the legislature is under pressure now to pass this because it will affect our revenue and the rest of it, so they will not be here. We will do Zoom. In mining in Papulu, you can get Papulu to Zoom. So we are taking the mountain. Yeah, so we are taking note of that. I'm very serious. You know, I'm very serious. I like your concern for them. I like the proposals. But when people come and invest, not charity group, they come and do it, not NGO. They are investing in the main profit. Nobody come and put 500 million because it's not joke. 500 million is a huge money. So we don't take it as they will say, you know, we cannot appear before the legislature. Don't forget, it's not the faces you see, it's not just the people, but it's what they represent. So if anybody was investing in China from Liberia and tell the Chinese government that we cannot come, the Chinese government will take your document and throw us out. I know we're not big like China, but at least our own, our own space, should be respected. So we take note of it. We want to take the next batch. I'll go to my co-chairman. Honorable Tampoya. They should.
Please, I think the issue before us is grave and is something that we all should embrace. The newly installed government in the head of the newly installed government in said something that I take key attention to. He said, "Let us not repeat the mistakes of the past." And I read this document. Here, I read this document and I see all of the fine print and implications. For us, we need to take the boat to another level. All of the mistakes that were made in the past concessions, we can try to deal with them here now as well. The issue with Checo is this. Like Honorable Dennis said, we don't know how much DSO is there. But if we do, how long would it mine the DSO for? How long? And if it will be 4 to 5 years, if it will be 4 to 5 years, I assume that will be the response. Then the question is, why are we allowing Checo to build a concentrate plant in a 10-year? Because the problem here is that they will come and mine the easy way that after the DSO is depleted, they will walk away. So why don't we make them within the same time to start constructing a concentrate plant? because they're where the RO is, and because when we do that, at least we'll know that our investment will be worthwhile. But to really allow them to do the DSO for 4 to 5 years, then allow them to do the in the 2 years, I think is a disadvantage for the people. That's one. The second issue here, police. The second issue, police, is that the issue of royalty and this tax rate, 25% of tax rate on net profit. And rather is 4.5. If you do the math, maybe over the years, the DSA will be available. DSA will be available, be maybe $36 million. It's a disadvantage. So we need to learn the mistakes from the past. China Union is resting over there. They're not active one because of the same implications that we did not consider. Then the last question would be for our audience that in session 8.2, you said something about affected communities. Those affected communities, you need Buffalo as a principal community, but they said other counties that will be affected. The question is, can we need those counties? Magidi, the last time I checked, is right within China. So will Magidi be or will Bomb be? We need to know that will be. We need to know that. Let us not be vague about it because we don't want problems to be created in the future. Then the issue of the social benefits for crying out loud. Since we are donating the IMO to these companies anyway, there's no value addition. Let them be able to up that because you will have other companies be involved. According to the agreement says let our other counties that are unnamed, let us name them. That money will be divided by them. So I think I will rest on this. Mr. Chair, thank you so much.
So, Minister, just take note.
Okay, thank you, Chair. We left something undone. We decided to research the law to come up with a final decision that has to do with the feasibility study. What is bad, how steep, how Checo, normally when companies intend to merge or consolidate or conglomerate, it's on the basis of the burial value. So it is possible that what they are saying, though I'm not on the side, but it is a clear indication that when those companies conglomerate on the basis of value that each company possesses. So if this guy did a feasibility study and the other guy want to go into money but you don't have a license, that license is what value the investment of conglomerate. So it's possible. Actually, the issue to keep dragging on as we on the side spread more that we do. The next thing, Chairman, they almost talk about when talking about the exemptions. The exemption that two really companies benefit from as we have agricultural mine today. Because there's nothing being given to our PSFP as a